Hi everyone, today I have a really nice deep hip opening yoga sequence prepared for us, which I think is going to be really helpful because so many of us spend a lot of time sitting, which really just kind of shortens those hip flexors. So we're just going to try to undo that today, and we'll start kind of easy and then go into those deeper stretches. So we'll start by just coming up onto one knee. You can place your hands in front of your mat and go ahead and extend your right leg out to the side. You can kind of turn your toes so that they're about 45 degrees pointing out, and then make sure your foot is at a distance where you can comfortably bend into it. So we're going to take a couple hip circles, so go ahead and plant those hands, bend into the knee, stretch into that hip, we'll come forward, straighten through the leg, pull back, and then bend back into that knee. So we'll take this direction 5 times and then switch. You can also come up on your fingertips if it's easier for you to take a wider circle in this motion. So this is the third circle. Go ahead and really sink down into that knee. We're just warming up those hips. Come forward in your circle, send your hips back, bend into that knee, and come forward. This is our last one. So take a nice big circle and we'll switch directions. So send your hips back, bring them out to the left, come forward, and bend back into that right knee. So that was one. Bend into the knee, send the hips back, and come forward. You can go at whatever pace feels comfortable for you. That was 4, and we have one last one to do. Send those hips back and come forward. You can go ahead and bring that right knee back to the ground, and we'll do the other side. So go ahead and extend the left foot out to the side. You could point your toes out and get it at a good distance that's comfortable for you. Bring your hands out in front of your mat, and we'll bend into that left hip. Really sink down there. We're going to pull the hips back, come back forward, and around again. So this is 2. Sink into the knee, pull the hips back, and come forward. We'll do this a couple more times in this direction. You can use pressure to push through your hands to kind of guide your hips. And sink down again. And we'll go ahead and switch directions. So we'll go the opposite motion, taking 5 circles on this side. Come forward, push the hips back, bend into that right knee, or left knee. And we have 2 more. So your hips should start to feel a little bit more warmed up here. And last circle. We'll go ahead and bring that right knee back, and we'll just go ahead and center ourselves. So face the front of your mat. We're coming out to our hands and our knees, and we'll just take a couple hip circles to kind of get into those hip sockets a little bit more. So go ahead and lift the right knee away from the ground and take your knee in a circular motion. So we can go clockwise to start with. We'll take 5 circles, and then we'll switch directions. So reach that knee out, and then bring it back in, and we'll switch. That's 1, 2, reach the knee out to the side and bring it back in, 4, and last one. And we'll do the other side, so go ahead and lift the left knee, take it out to the side, bring it back down, and we'll do that 5 times in this direction. And one last one, and we'll switch. So lift that knee, warm up that hip, and 2 more. So now we'll go ahead and start to stretch into those deeper exercises. So you can go ahead and stretch your your right leg behind you. You can bring it into your chest and plant it forward. So you can kind of step your foot forward if it kind of comes slightly behind you. So go ahead and bend into that knee very deeply. You can sink down into your hips here. And if it's too hard for you to keep your fingertips on the ground, you can always sit up a little bit higher. So you can sit up here and push forward through your front right knee, or you can bring your fingertips to the ground and sink down. So we'll take one more breath in here. Feel the left front hip opening here also. And from here, go ahead and rotate your back left leg about 90 degrees towards the right. You can leave your right fingertips on the ground and reach up and over with your left hand. So we're taking a big hip opener here, really sinking down into those hips. Reach up with that left hand and sink down. And go ahead and bring the left fingertips back to the ground. Rotate your left foot back to where it was. And go ahead and lift that back knee away from the ground. And now you can spin it down so that the back edge of your foot is parallel to the back edge of your mat. So you kind of have this warrior two in your legs. You can leave your right hand where it is on the ground. And again, reach up and over with the left fingertips. So this is a big hip stretch, also for the back left inner thigh. Take a breath in, reach up, open your chest. And as you exhale, go ahead and bring the left fingertips back to the ground. You can square your hips, keep the back knee lifted as you sink again down into the pelvis, into your front right knee. And from here, go ahead and plant your left hand on the ground and start to reach up and out with the right hand. So you're twisting open here while you're in this deep lunge. And we're going to turn this into a modified side plank. So go ahead and spin those right toes 90 degrees towards the right and come out onto the left back edge of your foot. So you're going to reach up with that right hand and then reach those hips up to the sky. So here we're getting into the outer attachments of that right hip. So you should feel a pretty big stretch all along this area right here. So reach up and out, lift those hips. One more breath in. And you can come back to center on your exhale. So sink back down into that right knee and go ahead and drop the back left knee. Bring your right hand to the inside of your right foot and you can kind of scoot that right foot to the outside of your mat. So we're going to come into a lizard pose. So if your flexibility only allows you to be here, you can hang out right here with your fingertips on the ground. And if you have more flexibility, you can start to reach those fingertips out in front of your mat. You can bend into the elbows. You can press through your palms if it's easier for you. So we're really sinking down here, trying to get closer to the mat. If you can bring your forearms down to the ground. So this is a nice big hip opener in that right knee. So wherever you are, you can just ease into it right here. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, just let those tight hips and all your muscles kind of soften. And go ahead and bring your hands back in line with your right foot if you have them further out. We'll lift the back left knee and sink down here. So you're really stretching into the front of that hip. And your right shoulder should be pretty close to your right knee. You can sit up tall in your torso as you sink down into those hips. And go ahead and lower the back left knee to the ground. You can bring that right foot all the way back behind you. Stretch that leg out completely so you're giving your right hip a break. And you can bring it back down to your mat. We're going to come into child's pose, so you can bring your knees to a little bit of a wider stance. And then you're just going to sink those hips back. That's Harvey, our cat, by the way. And then lower your forehead back down to the ground. So sink those hips to your heels. Bring your forehead to your mat. And we'll just breathe here. As the hips relax and open a little bit more. Feel gravity pulling those hips down to the mat. Take a couple more breaths here before switching to the other side. You can also, if it's more comfortable for you, bring your knees a little bit further in. Come back down to child's pose again. And you can also place the hands onto the heels if that gives you a better and steeper stretch. And take one more breath in. Hands will come to sit all the way back up on our mat, and we'll do the other side. So you can come forward onto your hands and your knees, stretch that left leg out behind you, bend that knee into your chest, and you can just kind of plant it in between your hands. You can scoot it a little bit further forward. So we'll take a moment here to just sink into this front left knee. You can lift up in your chest while you're still sinking down into that pelvis. And like I said before, you can also come up here. That's easier for you. And from here, you can go ahead and leave that left fingertips on the floor, and you can start to bend the back right knee 90 degrees towards the left. So you'll sink it down into those hips and bring the right fingertips up and over your head as you bend deeply into that front left knee. So let those hips really open. You should feel a stretch in the inner right thigh here too. And you can spin that right leg back where it was before. Go ahead and lift the back right knee and plant that right foot so that the back edge of your foot comes parallel to the back edge of your mat. So you have warrior two in your legs. And you can leave your left fingertips where they are as you reach up and over with the right hand. So we're taking a deeper lunge here. Sink down in those hips and just breathe through these stretches. And you can bring that right hand back down to the ground. Square your hips to the front of your mat. You can plant that right hand onto your mat, and we'll twist open towards the left. So you're still keeping your hips very straight towards the top of your mat, but you're twisting through the rib cage and opening up. So lift those left fingertips up. And we'll take that modified side plank by rotating the front left foot 90 degrees towards the left and coming to the outside of the right back foot. So from here, lift your hips up to the sky, and you should feel a really nice deep stretch on the outer left hip. One more breath in. And as you exhale, we'll spin our body back to the top of our mat, facing center. Go ahead and drop the back right knee to the mat. Bring your left hand to the inside of your left foot and scoot that left foot all the way to the edge of your mat, or the very outside of your mat. So we're coming into lizard pose here again. You can start to bend into the elbows. sinking down, bringing that left knee to your left shoulder. You can bring your forearms to the ground if your flexibility allows for it, or you can always hang out up here, wherever is good for you. Don't want to push yourself too far, so if you're sitting up nice and tall right here, that's totally fine. You can reach the fingertips forward, or you can bring the forearms down to the ground. And we'll go ahead and take this pose with the back right knee lifted, so go ahead and lift that back right knee. Sit up nice and tall in your chest, open through your heart as you sink down to the front left knee. And go ahead and drop that back knee to the ground. Lift the left foot away and stretch it up and back behind you so you're getting a nice stretch in that hip socket we've been working. And you can bring it back down to the ground, and again we'll take child's pose. So wherever you want your knees to be, they can be wider apart, they can be closer together. You're going to sink those hips down. Bring your forehead to your mat and extend your arms in front of you. We'll take a couple breaths here to kind of settle our heartbeat and to relax those hips a little bit more. So you can just start to walk your hands back all the way up. You can come to a seated position, and we'll face the front edge of our mat again, coming into this kind of crisscross applesauce position. And we're going to end with one final hip opening stretch that'll kind of ease us out of our workout for the day. So you can place the right foot on top of your left knee so that the right knee is on top of the left foot. So you're kind of stacking your shins here, and you can start by sitting up nice and tall in your stance right here. You can also use the right hand to kind of push that right knee down so that it comes closer to your bottom left foot. So if your hips are very flexible, then your knee will already be practically touching your foot, but if not, you can just slowly ease yourself into it. And as you feel that hip kind of drop down, you can bring your fingertips forward. You can lean into this stretch until that knee is kind of forced to lay on top of the bottom foot. So this is a really nice stretch to also kind of get into that inner thigh of the right leg. You can just sink down here. One more breath in. And we can come back to sit all the way up, and we'll switch legs. So go ahead and bring that left foot on top of the right knee, stacking your shins in the other direction. You can sit up nice and tall. You can place the left hand on top of the left knee to kind of push it down. As you guys can see, this hip is a lot more flexible on me than my other one. And then you can start to lean forward as your muscles and your hips start to loosen up. You can relax into it right here. And we'll come all the way back up in our stance. And you can go ahead and bring your legs just back to the regular crisscross position. You can place your hands, palms up on top of each knee. And you can close your eyes. We'll start to relax here. You can feel your legs and your hips and everything just ease into the seated position that you're in. And you can thank yourself for taking the time to stretch into those hips today. These weren't easy stretches, so you should feel proud of yourself. hopefully you can feel those hips are a little bit more open and relaxed now that we're coming to the close of our practice today. And we'll take one more inhale here. And a big exhale as you let out that breath. And you guys can stay here for as long as you like, for as long as you would like to stay in that kind of meditative place. So thank you all so much for watching this video, and if you did it along with me, then great. I hope you're feeling just a little bit better overall, a little bit looser, kind of stretch into those tight places, especially for most of us who do spend a lot of time sitting. So thank you again, and I hope you enjoyed it. You guys can leave your comments below and let me know what you thought, and I will see you all next Tuesday.